Mrs. Johnson, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock.
No, it's 6. I haven't changed the clocks. It's 6. I know.
Okay, thank you very much. And I hope we all read the minutes. If I can have a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
So this is for a second.
Second, Rita Volkman.
Any discussion?
Yes. On number 4, under proposal for the culinary rooms at Fitch High School. Number 4, it says tapping. It should say staffing. So,
Oh,
Joan, I just thought I'd catch you up on that. So,
I caught it this morning.
and then Roman numeral 5 up there should be update.
Right.
So these are, you caught these already.
Yes, I let the necessary parties know about it.
Oh, okay.
For bringing it up.
Thank you,
I'll
Mrs.
make sure the
Johnson.
necessary parties fix it.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. And we'll move to the third. And then we'll move to the third item on the agenda.
Oh, we haven't.
We have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the acceptance.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fine. Aye.
Opposed? So I want to say sustained.
There's Kim.
Oh, there's Kim.
Kim, did,
Anybody who didn't vote? Or is he gonna vote? All right. All right, what's the word I'm looking?
Kim, did you want to chime in? I see you
No.
waving. at us.
No, I just was waving to say hi.
Hi,
It's very weird to have this perspective.
I know.
Abstain, that's the word. Anybody
Abstain,
abstaining? Okay, motion has passed. Now, can we move on?
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a report on Ed Rising at the high school and are they here? I see.
is anybody?
I'm looking to see if Laurel and Lauren are here from the high school to report on Ed Rising.
Do not see them.
Did they have an invitation?
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
Well, let's table that for now. We can move it.
Okay.
Okay. So communications update on Facebook and social media. Are you doing that?
Rebecca is.
Oh,
I am,
There you
Bill. Did you want to say anything first?
Just that this is stemming from a conversation that we've had in the past. It's been on our referral list, I believe, to discuss the possibility of starting a district Facebook page in order to improve communication with our community and as a way to just get more information out there and be able to respond to our community. So I think it's been brought up in the past and nothing's moved forward. So we wanted to sort of bring it up again. Is it something that I think we need to personally, my opinion is that we need to do more to communicate and find ways to reach our families. And so these days, I think we're going to talk mostly about Facebook, but we're also want to look at other means of reaching people, depending, things change pretty quickly. And I think even a communication study that was done a couple of years ago, Rebecca and I were discussing how much has probably changed since then in terms of how people best communicate and receive information. So I think it's worth taking a look at and beginning the discussion. And I'm sure the information that's going to be presented tonight will help get that moving in the right direction.
okay. Rebecca, you ready?
Hi. Did everybody get a copy of the handout on the table? Okay.
No, well, the people that are hybrid are not, unfortunately, I was hoping it would be in our packet. So we did not. receive
It was
that.
given to us in an email not
Yes.
yesterday, on either Friday or Saturday.
I believe Joyce said she emailed it out perhaps later Friday afternoon.
She did.
All right, I'll check it out. I'm before the board notes or after?
After. It was
After.
after the board notes, since this was sort of a last minute addition.
They're really just talking points, so
Yeah.
Rebecca can certainly present it
Oh,
in
sure.
words, because that's all it is.
Fine. Yeah, I didn't receive.
In words.
Yeah.
It's like a,
We-
outline.
We kept it brief because we really just wanted this to lead into more of a discussion, as Dr. Piazza said. So going back to our communications plan, we are talking about social media for a couple of reasons. We think it really would provide a great platform to share our story and tell our story, as well as, and when I say our story, I'm referring to things that support our vision, our mission, our teaching and learning as a district, as well as general news and information, calendar updates, things such as that. And to get them out quickly and efficiently and in a way that we know that people are consuming media and what they're using. It's less about how we want to push out the information and more about how are we reaching them in the way that they're consuming information. So it also would expand our two-way communications, opportunities for dialogue and engagement with our community. It can help to build trust and transparency with comments and replies and engagement and being open to that. We would look to have awareness and exposure for all of our schools and programs, even though this would be a district page. And it would help really build that district-wide community. You know, right now, if folks follow a specific school page because their child attends that school, they may only be familiar with that. However, we want them hearing about all of our schools, all of our programs at all of our levels, and feel like a full community, not just a Charles Barnum or Northeast Academy, so on and so forth. And then many other organizations in town have Facebook pages, Groton Park and Rec, our military partners, lots of other community pages. So it would provide us with a platform for more online relationship with them. You know, we're talking about, should we have a district page? And I always say it's not a question of whether or not we want to be on Facebook. We are. We're just not running the conversation or starting the conversation. We're in a very reactive versus proactive position right now. So our own platform would really allow us to be pushing out information, sharing our story, and providing credible factual information versus, I'm sure we've all seen posts and things that go rounds and rounds and rounds of people trying to get information, people sharing the wrong information. This would allow us to push out the right information, the credible information directly from the source. So it really comes down to who do we want telling our story. And we already have a lot of subgroups in our community using social media. We have the student nutrition program. The school building program had a very successful social media page that tracked the actual building progress of our new schools. We do have some of our PTOs using that and other groups and clubs. All of the districts surrounding us are using social media, Learn, Ledyard, East Lyme, London, Norwich, really everybody right around us. When we start having this conversation here, we tend to lean towards talking about Facebook initially, because if we're going to dive into this, we want to do it right and we want to do it well. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin. So we would rather take on one platform and do it really, really well. And Facebook still has the greatest reach and the most user engagement among parents, the community at large, alumni, older generations. So that would still be perceived as the best place and the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak. In terms of what we would talk about and what that might look like, I always talk about content buckets. Physically, what the post would look like, we have a lot of text, but visual posts get so much more engagement. I was just reading some statistics about how just how your brain, now that we live in such a visual environment, processes visual information. So visual posts through our photo stories, videos, infographics, and of course we have Mark Russell. We have this wealth of images and photos that we have to share, links to other resources and shared content from other partners, as I mentioned, other resources, and then crowdsourced content, which could be, you know, if we ran a little first day of school campaign and parents wanted to share pictures of their kids and things like that, and that would be, you know, potentially up to them to do, but that's just different ideas. what we would actually be talking about in these different types of photos and text and infographics. Achievement and recognition, celebrating our teachers, our students, our schools, our staff, our alumni. I know we've talked about trying to bring back in our alumni before. Our teaching and learning, highlights from our schools and classrooms, the IB program, our magnet schools, and our magnet themes, our district-wide initiatives and programs, our curriculums. Calendar reminders, tomorrow's a TLI day, little reminder about that. Board of Ed information, meetings like this, links to the presentations and the YouTubes, general district news and updates from superintendent or assistant superintendent, student and family resources, the food services calendar, tips from our food services director on a snow day, how to make a great cup of hot chocolate. January 1st, some of our coaches or PE teachers jump on the bandwagon, exercises you can do at home to get fit in the new year, things like that. We can have a lot of fun with it. It doesn't all have to be super, super serious. Transportation, all the things people look for. And then, theme days and mini campaigns, Read Across America Day kind of thing. Share your favorite summer reading book. So as we talk about all of this, if it is something we determine that we're going to proceed with, we do still have some steps to take. We need to define team roles and responsibilities here with the page in terms of creating and scheduling content, monitoring it, responding to comments and things that could come up on the page, reviewing metrics for the page, actually building the page, which is a fairly straightforward task, but you want to create rules for privacy, content, comments and reviews, profanity filters, things like that. We want to review our photo policy, make sure we have everything all set on that. We want to review student privacy settings. Do we name students in posts? Do we not? If we do, is it first initial only or first name only or no name? And then we start to develop content. Ideally, you want to develop content ahead of time and then be scheduling it. You don't want to be racing around and saying, what are we going to post today? You want to sort of build out a calendar, and you might have, every Thursday, you kind of do the same thing, every Monday. And then you weave in there as well, pop-ups or breaking news or things that are going to come up throughout the month. And then we would look at, a timeline. When are we going to do this? Ideally, maybe sometime after the new year. So that's really a very top level look at what and why and how this could all work. And I think we want to get feedback from the group on how the group feels about taking this step. It's something we've talked about off and on for quite a few years. And so I think we're at the point where we either want to make a decision to proceed or not.
Are there any questions or?
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry. I should be addressing you. So I'm all in favor of getting news out. And then we thought we should do is emphasize the stuff that we're doing right, rah, like Groton Public Schools. That's one function. And the function, of course, is people looking for, going to our homepage, our website, and looking for information, basic stuff, not so basic stuff, whatever we have currently. The wheel's probably already been invented elsewhere. So are we going to be patterning ourselves or learning from other pages?
Absolutely.
I suspect we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I have gone to Final Site Trainings, which is our website provider, with other school districts who we've collaborated and provided great insight. But Final Site itself, our website partner, provides tremendous valuable resources and continuous information actually on social media as well. And
Rebecca,
then,
and I don't mean to cut you off, I apologize, but I've also reached out. I'm part of an assistant superintendent collaborative, and I put something out when we started talking about this, and all the responses I've gotten have been that they're using all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And I plan on following up with them to get access to, and I'll start following them and sort of see what they're posting, what they think. And I'm meeting with them on Friday as well. So I plan on having that be a topic on our agenda. So Because I think it's the right move to research what other people are doing too and what they're using it for.
The other question I have is this. There's at least it starts with a sort of a one-way approach, which is we would like, in addition to providing a space for people to look up information when they're moving toward us, we're looking to put information out. Do we have a sense of, maybe from, I don't know whether we got anything from this climate survey or any sort of other survey, do we have a sense of where people typically go? So for example, you say Facebook is the most widely used. That's true in general, but if you could ask people, ask all parents, and if you could get honest answers and ask them, where do you go so we can be there, so you can find us, so you can see the good news. Hey, we've got a tip or something, good news or something like that. Also, when you were talking about, Dr. Piazza, you're talking about multiple platforms, it can be a shotgun approach. And it's possible, I'm not saying that it is possible, you'll spend 95% of your efforts reaching a very marginal portion of the, we're everywhere, but really most people are, here, where we're also B and C, and no one's really watching us on B and C. Do we have a feel for where people are going to catch all this wonderful news we're going to be putting out there?
Well, we have data from 2 years ago, but as I said, things have changed quite a bit in 2 years. So we were just discussing today the possibility of putting that out again, even just that one simple question, maybe listing all the different social media platforms and say, where do you go? And that might lead us in the direction, like you said, so we're not spreading ourselves too thin and reaching the fewer people. So I think that's a good idea.
And I think the platforms we're talking about, the core audience that we're starting with is parents, the community at large. Our older population probably wouldn't be reaching our students per se, because we know that they're not there as much anymore on Facebook or even Twitter. Yes, on Instagram, but we know they're more on the TikToks and the Snapchats and the things. And I don't think we're comfortable heading in that direction yet.
Well, my oldest was 21 now. When he was at Fitch, and I said something about Facebook, he said Facebook's dead.
It is.
That generation.
I don't think
is
it's
already
dead, but it's definitely, but it's not being used by that generation. It's not.
Exactly.
But I don't think that's, initially, we're trying to get information to our, like you said,
Our parents, our
and even
community at
alumni,
large.
which I think is a great use of this.
But there's that close connection between Instagram and Facebook, so you can really almost launch both of those at the same time.
There
and reach
is.
probably more people.
That would
Because you can link the accounts, so whatever's posted on one
You
is
can.
posted on the other.
That would definitely be a logical step to take, and there's a ton of integration. Also, good social media is also going to drive people to our website. A good media and strategy and campaign from a communications perspective is going to be very integrated, and all of the different tools and resources we have are going to be intended to work together and push to each other. And that's where you really start to see a lot of benefit, and you're reaching people. But I'm still confident that based on the data that I follow and look at, that Facebook, you're absolutely right that the younger generation isn't on that anymore, but that it still has the greatest cross section and reaches initially who we really want to be reaching.
Yeah, he may not be the demographic, not yet.
Not that we don't want to be eventually engaging our students more. We absolutely do, and but I think
That would be another.
that would be another layer and level down the road.
Yeah, he's not homesick yet for
Yeah.
Fitch.
I think Rita and Kim had questions too. I thought I saw them raising their hands
Okay.
earlier.
Kim, go ahead.
So Rita, Kim, and then Liz.
You want me to go? Okay. Well, since I am not on Facebook, and I know a lot of people who are no longer on Facebook, I feel that it would be fine to do it if we were putting on information, but I would not want to have a two-way dialogue on Facebook, responding to what people write. To me, that is going down a slippery slope. I think it's dangerous. When we had a board member who is no longer on the board because of postings on Facebook, I just wouldn't want anybody to be able to respond and go back and forth with someone on Facebook. To me, that is not what we should do. I'd like to know who would be responsible for posting on the site. Is that another position? Is it somebody that we already have hired? who could do it, or will there be a financial cost? And I would not want parents sharing pictures of their children. I think that that again is privacy, and it's not something that, not on our site. They can do it on their site, but not on a public school site. And I go to the Groton Public Schools website, so that's just how I feel about it. And maybe somebody can answer my questions after Kim and Liz.
Okay, and I have the same questions that you do, Rita. I'm looking at where would the pitfalls be? So, Kim?
Yeah.
So, I guess I have some of the similar sort of questions. I guess for me, let's start what our role is, right? Our role is board. And as a board, we're responsible for policy. And so, Phil, as you go to those conversations with the assistant superintendent and with Rebecca, I think that before we do this, and please don't assume that because I'm asking this, doesn't mean that I'm not for this method, because I'm actually am. I think that we need to get caught up with the other districts in doing so. And I've heard a lot of comments about that. So I would want to know sort of like, what is the policy? And I'm sure CABE has a social media policy, but I would be interested in Phil, if you, in your conversations with the assistant superintendents, if they would be willing to forward policy for you, because I think on our level, that's actually what our most important goal would be, is to make sure that we have decent policy around implementing social media. And my other, so if we did that, I get it, Facebook is not for the young, but someone like me, or actually, I guess I'm old, so it wouldn't be me, but maybe that's where the parents would need to get information about that. And I love the idea, Rebecca, about the filters, so that we can kind of block some of that stuff off. That would be really good. There's several of us, or a couple of us, and I know Matt Schulman is here, who also attended this CABE workshop, was about posting or not to post. And Rebecca, I can make sure that I can get that to you so that you can take a look at what this attorney was stating. And he was just really clear that we have to be careful about when we make decisions around blocking someone because they make a comment, is that we have to be careful that we're not breaking their First Amendment rights. And so how do we make sure that there's this back and forth, whatever platform that we use, but how do we allow this back and forth? But if it becomes nasty, what do we do? And how do we make sure that we take care of that so we're not violating someone's First Amendment right? And so I think that's like, that was where the concern for me was like, how do we just work around that? Clearly, other people have been able to do that because they have their websites, and they have their social media campaign. So those are just that's my thinking.
And Kim, just to comment on those two things, I can definitely reach out and get examples of those policies. I think that's a great idea to start with, and I can get those relatively quickly. And I reached out to that lawyer who did that workshop because I wanted a copy of the PowerPoint, because the copies he gave us were too small. When I went back I couldn't read everything on the slide. And so he's already sent those to me and offered to come and really speak to us if we really had more questions, which was great.
I don't mind him. I think though we should use our own attorney for that.
Right, and I think we've reached out to
Yeah,
him.
I have reached out.
Oh, super. Thank you, Susan.
We'll get that information.
Yeah, I was going to reference, because I was at that workshop, and slide 49, I can actually tell you the exact slide. And their recommendation was to, narrowly tailored content neutral time, place, and manner restrictions are permissible in public forums. Consider whether additional disclaimer on social media account clearly stating that certain categories of speech will be deleted or blocked. And then consider adoption of social media usage policy to protect your district from First Amendment claims or violations. And I think those are things that we definitely need to have in place. One of the comments that I had written on my side here was that you may not want to enable comments. That would be primarily focusing and pushing out information, but not having this two-way dialogue, because who's going to respond to those things? And that's a concern, you know, I mean, is it the administrators of the site? Or is it going to be a responsibility of the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, among their other many duties? I mean, it's just a concern. And so I really would, I pulled out my PowerPoint. That's why I got up, because I meant to have this with me. And just the concern too, is this going to be a government site? Because if it's a government site, it has a whole different, there's a bunch of different priorities and applications. So you know, we have some discussion, we have to get some answers here.
Yep.
And but I just and Rebecca, I would be glad to share this with you if you would like this.
Yeah.
I'll give it right to you
Oh.
with all my comments on it.
Thank you.
But I just think that was one of the best. It was the last conference or workshop of the day, and let me tell you, I wish it would have been the first. And I wish, Dean, you had been there, because I think you would have really liked that one.
Probably.
So, but thank you all.
Dr. Piazza had mentioned that he was attending that on.
And I think our next steps would just be to do our research. You know, I'll talk to the surrounding districts and get to see what they're doing.
Yep.
We'll follow up with our attorney just to get his advice on different things. We'll follow up with the information that was given at that workshop as well. And I think that, you know, that was definitely part of the plan that Rebecca, the very first thing for next steps was define team rules, because we know that's going to be important as to who's doing what and how we're going to proceed. So that will all, we would never proceed without having that stuff lined up. So I think we'll just plan on doing our research and sharing that with the board as quickly as possible, and just keep the conversation moving forward.
Thank you. I'm Kim now. I'm Kim. I just also want to make sure we add there that we need to create the policy.
Right.
We definitely need to create policy around this before we implement.
Yeah, I'll get examples of policies from other districts, and
Thank
then
you.
we can start them.
Madam Chair. You know, when Liz was talking about having it be a one-way thing, to be on the safer side rather than having it be interactive, you know, responding to the posts and whatnot. I'm remembering now something that I've been thinking about for a while. This is a topic for another time. I want to raise it so that other people can remember, because I'm liable to forget it myself because if I tie a string around my finger. And that is this. We've experienced, not constantly, but it happens once in a while, our meetings or get-togethers are punctuated with the feeling that parents usually who want to communicate with the board are frustrated. You've heard this in other settings as well. I remember experiencing this in the town council. What do you mean I only get 3 minutes? What do you mean I only get 5 minutes when you have a regular meeting and you have citizens comment? Or there's email. What I think is a general frustration, I don't have an answer. I'm not proposing that our social media project be two-way instead of the one-way as you propose. I'm simply raising the issue so we can think about how we can satisfy the desire on behalf of the community, the parents, for example, have. They feel like, how do I vent? How do I, you know, other than, I can't always address all the issues. Some people, let's just face it, will sort of never be satisfied. No, you can provide them with 100 avenues of communication. It's not enough. They need 101. But I'll bet you that there is a general feeling, not just the boards of ed, as I said, with other bodies as well. People feel as though I can't get to them. You know, I send an email and nobody ever responds, or email's not my thing, or I go to the meeting and they only give me, as I said, X number of minutes. So just a topic for the future, how is there a way to address this so people feel like I can talk to my representatives? You know, I feel like I'm getting through. But Liz, when you mentioned that, I thought of that.
But I just want to clarify, please.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say what this person was telling us about the one-way communication. It's not necessarily my personal opinion, but this was one of the recommendations that came out, that this was something we may want to consider.
Right.
But the way it's set up. Okay.
Oh, and I completely understand the concern, whether it's yours or the presenters, about having essentially a free-for-all on social media. That can go south pretty quickly. I get that. But like I said, that said, I'm still thinking about possible avenues to address the accessibility
I agree.
issue.
Well, are there any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to.
Did you have a closing comment?
There are some limitations when you set up pages in terms of turning off commenting. So limiting the two-way communication is a bit tricky. And I think as we look at the page setup, that will likely need to be one of the in addition to the policy, which I think is very important and critical, whether or not that's even really feasible and manageable, because there are only certain types of pages that you can actually do that with. And there may be size limitations on those. So that's something we are going to have to take a peek at, because as to whether or not it's an option or not, and if that impacts how we proceed. Thank
And
you.
I just had a quick question. Could somebody let me know who would be responsible for maintaining the page?
I think that's a question for all of us.
Right. We don't have an answer, but we know that Rebecca has been instrumental in gathering the evidence and keeping us on our communication plan. And she's really been the lead communicator in the district. So, you know, but we do have other people in the district as well who can help support the initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think we have to wait for Phil to come back with these. The policies and with your meeting.
Sure.
Okay. In that case, if we finish with that, we go on to minimum wage increase. So, I guess that's-
And that was an attachment as well.
And thank you all.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
to see you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, it was good to see you, even if it was by Zoom.
Good to see you too.
It had yellow and orange.
Yes.
Can I, Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Chair.
if I could just ask, I love the fact that we've spread people out. I think that that's really good. What has happened is that we have a very limited view. So I see all of Phil and now I see most of Lori, but anyone who's sitting on the other side of them, if they could just even announce themselves so that, I mean, I recognize Dean's voice, but if there's anyone else speaking, I may not. And so that would just be helpful for those of us who are on the hybrid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ken, are you ready?
Is this something you're?
Yeah,
Lori.
you pass them down. Take one, pass it down.
Oh, are they here?
I think they would have to just change the view, Kim.
You really can't be changed.
But there's some additional attachments.
Empty?
that go with
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
But you do have a cute one.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, we ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
We're ready for Lori.
So I'm sending around some additional materials that's included with the original attachment. I'd just like to clarify, I did send an email over to Rita J. and Kim. Did I miss anybody else?
Rosemary's on there.
Rosemary, okay, let me do that quickly here.
Was there anybody else?
Susan, if I could get a copy.
Yes, we'll make sure you get a copy, Joan.
Yeah. What's the spelling of it? She's not coming up in the directory.
Rosemary Roberts.
Roberts,
R.
B-E-R-T, okay. Yeah, she is Robertson. Right.
So is this one different than what was sent in our packet, Lori?
Rita, no, it's the same introductory page, but there's some additional attachments I'm going to speak to. So I did send it over.
Okay.
You guys could at least pull it up on the screen. I just sent it at the start of the
Thank you.
meeting. So I just want to walk through what's here, talk a little bit about the issues. And this is something that Ken and I worked on together. So Ken, feel free to jump in.
So we met with the Finance Facilities Committee a couple of times to talk about the current status of the minimum wage. And I mean, we've been talking about it for quite some time with the board, and we know the minimum wage is coming. Some of the issues we're experiencing now is that we're experiencing quite a bit of staffing shortages this year. It's very prominent to the point where we're getting extremely concerned. And what we're finding is that a lot of businesses, organizations, even school systems, they have advanced their wages and they're paying minimum wage or higher. So the district is now fallen behind in its wages. So what we wanted to do is talk through the proposal that we have here, which is to address that concern. And then in the process of talking about it, we'll also talk a little bit about cost and funding, because we've been working on that as well. But what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through this initial page. There's some additional supporting competitive market data we'll talk through, and then kind of go from there. So in the minimum wage analysis and proposal that you have, basically what we've done is identified all of the jobs in the district that pay less than minimum wage currently. We put together a proposal to move them to minimum wage. And then for those jobs that we're making above minimum wage, we did account for some incremental advancement of those positions to make them more comparable from a market standpoint. So we took a look at jobs that were making above 15 and moved them at a comparable pace to those minimum wage jobs. So Ken and I spent quite a few months kind of looking at this and dissecting it. And we feel like this proposal at least gets us a good starting place. We're currently, as I mentioned, we're currently behind the market in every job at this point. And so it's creating critical hiring shortages. And it's also shifted, I would say, in the last month or so to kind of critical retention issues. We're starting to see individuals leave our district and take jobs in other school systems because they're going to make more money. So we're not only do we have a hiring problem, we have a retention problem. So and it's really gotten to a critical stage. So that's what brings the proposal forward. What I'd like to do is just mention a couple key things about the first sheet. We do have a proposal related to the paraprofessionals. They are below minimum wage. We have not noted it on the sheet. We've indicated that we need to negotiate that with them, but we do have a proposal which is similar in concept to what's on the upper part of the page to address the minimum wage hiring requirement for new hires, but then also some incremental increase for the paraprofessionals themselves. What we would propose doing is, if the board supports moving forward with this, we would enter into negotiations with the paraprofessionals to kind of work out those details. And then, so I'd like to turn to the next page in the packet, which is basically some analysis of subrates that we collected, some data analysis, which indicates the daily subrate, building subrate, and long-term subrate. So for those, just to give a little background, daily subs are those that come in and out on a daily basis, take assignments on a day-to-day basis. Building subs are individuals who report every day to the school system, and they work as a substitute teacher, but they have a commitment for the entire school year. And then long-term subs are specific long-term assignments covering mainly leaves of absence, where they're going to be around for an extended period of time, and they're responsible for all the planning and assessment and grading in the classroom.
And require certain certifications.
Correct. So with this, I would say a couple of the highlights are with the daily sub rates, and the majority of the districts are $100 or more per day. You can see that in the breakdown of the data. Building subs are a little more about, they range anywhere from about 110 to 125. So that is what kind of guided our proposal for substitute teachers. We propose 105 and for daily subs, and 125 for building subs. No changes proposed to the long-term sub, if I recall. So we feel that at least we feel like we can retain the subs that we have. we can hopefully attract new ones in, but what we don't want to do is keep losing them to other districts, because that just creates continued shortages. So that is the information, I would say, kind of the high points of the sub-teacher rates. Ken, do you have anything you want to add?
No, so we put this together. You notice there's no districts listed. I put this together. I failed to put those in, so I apologize if that's not. But we did get this information from a combination of through Learn and from CASBO. So
Yeah.
I feel comfortable that these are up to date.
Sorry, I have a question, Andrea.
Yes.
My question is, since we're increasing the cost and with our long-term subs, we pay them much more than other districts, it seems, $44.21. Is there a way to lower that rate to cover the cost of the additional cost of the daily subs and building subs?
We're paying a bachelor's rate, one for those long-term that require certification, and you can see many others on the list that do the same.
All the way up, because it does look like there's a large discrepancy with the other districts, like $44.27.
I don't see where you're looking.
Yeah, that's based on the average, Rita, but if you look at the detail itself, there are some 250s, 256, 260s.
Okay.
Yeah, so 263, 250, 257. So there's quite a few that are up in that range where we are. We can
Right.
certainly have that conversation when we talk about cost.
Just a thought. I was just trying to figure for finances. And I wanted to go back to the union hourly rate.
Sure.
My feeling is that a custodian entry level should be at least the same as a secretary entry level. You have it a little less. I would like to see it the same. I just think it would make more sense.
I'll make a note
So
of that.
That's just something, when I look at this, to me, that is something that I would like to see. I'm all for raising all of these because we are far behind, especially with our paras. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Any other comments or questions?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to say, I appreciate that you pushed this out so that the people who have been here and loyal still get an incremental raise. And I think that's important because that's not happening everywhere. And it's a 2%, am I correct? Is that it's 2% across the board for those
No,
who
it's-
are already here, or is it more?
It's more. It's going to vary depending on the position and how much the entry-level job moved to meet the minimum wage.
Okay, so but you have made that
We have.
adjustment, and I just wanted to commend you for that, because it's very important that we demonstrate that the people who have been with us, that we appreciate that, and that we state that they're valued, and I think that says a lot. So I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome. And then I'd like to speak to the next handout. This is just some competitive data related to paraprofessional rates. So it says at the top, Groton paraprofessional chapter, and it lists the DERG, Anglic, and contiguous. So it just gives us all a sense as to kind of where we are, and you can see in all of the groups, we're below on the minimum, which is the entry-level rate. And then we're also below on the maximum. Now, obviously, we realize we can't solve all of this in this one adjustment, and we have negotiations coming up that we need to take into account. So what we would be looking to propose with the paras when we negotiate with them is possibly considering maybe a one-year contract extension to address the immediate issues. And then from there, continue to look at this data as we move through the negotiations process with them.
And looking to January as the time to start making these moves, right?
Yeah, so the proposal that we've prepared would have an effective date of January 1, 2022 for the proposal that we have in front of us. Let me just take a peek if there's anybody have any questions on the paraprofessional data before we move off of that? Ken, anything to add, just kind of highlighting the data?
Kim is waving.
It's so hard to understand sort of what's going on. I guess what I to understand, I guess, in a nutshell is that we are woefully underpaying the folk that are doing the work. And so I am just wondering in terms of process, do you need to have before the next regular board meeting, do you need to have the negotiations meet with you, Lori, to kind of go over what this 1-year contract would look like? So that we could then vote on it next week?
Yes, we would need, well, we need to vote on it. We did need to vote on it in December, once we negotiate with them, with the paraprofessionals. The rest of the groups on this page are non-union that are targeted for adjustment. So the only group right now that we need to bargain with is paraprofessionals.
Okay, so
yeah.
I would absolutely make a recommendation now. And if we need to, okay, so we have the 13th is our next regular board meeting in December. I'm not talking about November. And that is when our board is being sworn in. But we seem to want to make sure that we have this information kind of sealed up before then. Am I thinking too much out loud?
So Kim, what I would recommend, if the board would give me permission, I would be happy to reach out to the paraprofessionals unit and have some initial conversation with them to gauge their interest, and then I could schedule a session with the negotiations committee with them. Is that suitable? Just to
the only hesitancy I have, Laura, I think that's a great plan. My only hesitancy to that, Lori, is we will have a new board at that point, which is fine, but we also could have a different negotiating committee. So I was just trying to kind of keep some consistency. That's what I was,
we could do a special meeting too, if need
yeah,
be.
I think that's what I would prefer to have, and that we could even have, and once again, I'm not cutting the new board, the new constellation of board members out. I just think that this is something that we have been talking, this board has been talking about quite a bit. And so I'm just thinking that makes the most sense. And maybe Susan, you have a much better head around those things than I do. And maybe you and I, Phil, can talk about what that would look like in terms of calendar and stuff.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
We can talk. Yep.
So as I mentioned, the targeted effective date is January 1st. I'll let Ken speak to the cost and what we propose in the way to deal with this issue. But what I will say is, as the board's considering the issue, it's not a matter of if we do this, it's a matter of when and how we do it. And knowing that we're really at a critical crossroad with our workforce, I'm very concerned if we go beyond January. I just don't know what the state of the workforce will be. We're really already in a detrimental state. We recruit every week. We're doing everything we can, but the reality is we're not competitive, so people aren't taking the jobs, and then now we're losing them on top of it. So I know, that if we want to hear from the administrators, I know they would certainly be happy to comment and talk about some of their challenges and struggles with not having everything that they need.
No, I mean, I can only speak for me, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, for interrupting, but I don't feel like I personally need to hear about the struggles. I think that there's enough anecdotal evidence that you need staff, and I'm looking at Rita's face through this, through the Zoom, and we talk about this at all of our liaison meetings with the HSA and GEA. So this is nothing that's all that new and surprising. And like Liz said, as long as we make sure that those who are sticking it and being and staying with us, that we make sure that they get compensated as well. So I would look really forward to hearing about that. And maybe folks, maybe it's the board is the negotiate, because I think we're running out of time. Maybe the board becomes the negotiating team, and that maybe we should just schedule a special board meeting with the possible purpose of actually voting on it in a special board meeting. That would be my recommendation, but I haven't talked to Susan yet. And Susan, you're so far away from me, I can't see what your expression on your face is.
No, I'm nodding my head. Yes.
And we need to take care of it sooner than later. And we've really
Right.
figured
That's
out the cost for this thing, and it is doable. So for this year, it's half the cost of what it's gonna be next year.
Yep.
Because we only have half a year that we're doing it.
Do you want me to speak to that at all?
That would be great.
Yeah, Ken,
I-
I have
I-
one thing.
Before you do that,
ahead,
I would like to see this done by the end of November and not on the December meeting. I believe we could vote on it even next week if Lori has a chance to reach out to the paraprofessionals.
Yep, yep.
She's saying yes.
I'm planning to speak with them on Wednesday. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think this should be, we've been asking for this for a couple of years. So I think as soon as possible, and then it would go into effect January 1st.
okay, thank you, Rita and Kim.
Feeling.
So one other thing before I turn it over to Ken about the cost is, there is one item on the proposal. It's called a registered behavior technician. It's called an RBT. It is a highly skilled paraprofessional. These are common, these have become common in other districts. We're proposing to add this to the district. And we've indicated that in the proposal. We have a job description ready to review with the paraprofessional unit. It comes with specific training that the RBT would need to complete to become certified in order to have this job. And it's really focused on putting these positions targeted into our self-contained classrooms. So our ABA rooms, our academies. Our proposal is to start out in one per room and get them functioning, and then reassess, and certainly we anticipate adding additional in the future, but we think the responsible thing to do would be to add one per classroom in the program and get them operating and get all those individuals trained. The training is not expensive to do. It can be done online, can be done in a fairly reasonable amount of time. So we feel strongly that this will recognize those paraprofessionals that have been or will be operating with a much higher level of training in these classrooms, and we want to compensate them appropriately. So we feel as though this would be favorably received by the unit, although we have to speak to them about it. So I just wanted to point out that is an addition that's part of this proposal.
Yep.
Very common in the districts around us. Most of the districts around us have these positions as well. Stonington, Ledyard just posted one today, I think.
And they would report to a specialized behaviorist,
Yes.
a BCBA. So they would also have that mentoring happening right there. So we're really excited about this as a way to grow our own staff and to give them additional training and to respect the great work that they do, because it is quite a challenging job, and there are people who are really good at it. And so to really honor them and give them more training and have that mentoring, I think will be terrific. And I think it'll be terrific for our children.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it over to Ken. Do you want to?
Lori, we had talked about this even when we were negotiating with the paras about having that group of people that were, receiving more money. But now that you're putting a different name on them, would our present paraprofessionals be able to apply for this if they do the training?
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's our goal, is that we reward those paraprofessionals that are already in district. We're going to allow them to do the training in order to be eligible for this position.
Thank you.
Who pays for the training?
We would pay for the training.
Okay.
It's nominal.
It's
Okay.
not, it's.
It would
it's
go
not
with our
expensive.
regular PD.
You also mentioned another position. Is that somebody that's already on staff, or is that something that we're going to have to go in and add another position?
Are you talking about the
The
BCBA?
BCBA. The
Yeah.
BCBA is not currently on staff.
Somebody's got to click,
Oh.
hit the.
Somebody grab the board.
Can you go tap it?
The BCBA is not currently on staff, but was targeted for funding through, forgive me, was it Alliance or? Ken, do you remember the
BCBA.
BCBA? We
let's see.
identified a grant to fund the
BCBA.
position.
ARP IDEA.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
that's another funding source that we can tell you. We've brought it to finance and facilities, but specifically for special education, there's an art section for special ed. We also have a preschool, pre-K, K social worker in there as well because of some of the behaviors we've seen and the transitioning back. And so at least for the next few years, I think that will be very helpful.
The grant would cover this remainder of this year and another
next
year.
year. Yep.
Yeah.
Kim, is that something that you want to talk about now or during budget time?
I think it's two parts, right, Andrea? Like it's what we have to do for the immediate to make sure that we cover what we need to have starting January 1st. But it's also then part of our journey. Okay, so here's the cliche, journey through the budget, right? Like what is the journey? What is our story about the budget? So I think it's a two-part thing, but that's a good question.
Yeah. And Ken, do you want to?
Sure, this is Ken, just if you can't see me. So the cost that we anticipate from this proposal to increase to the district is probably in the range of about $120,000 when you add in all the folks that we're talking about here. But we're actually going to be able to fund this in that due to the para shortage, there has been a cost avoidance. We've literally not paid people that we had in our budget. And through last week, we had a cost avoidance of around $111,000. So you can see that that will be able to fund this proposal. And we anticipate that by the end of the calendar year, that's probably going to be closer to $221,000. So I think we'll still be well within budget, even with this proposal, at least for this year. Then we'll have to talk about how the impact next year.
Right. We'll have to budget for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Well then, thank you, Kim. We'll move on to the initial prediction on budget FY23 already.
So that's me again. This is
That's
Ken
you.
again.
Do you want to come sit over here? Or are you good with your computer? You're all set up?
I like being off screen.
Okay.
Just to
Okay.
voice.
All right.
But Susan wanted to understand where we think the FY23 budget will land. So this is a very high level. It's not looking at detail at all. It's looking at big buckets. Of course, our biggest bucket being salaries. And it just kind of goes through, starting with the FY22 budget. Yeah, this is the
Attachment
portrait, page with a yellow bar across the middle of it. So we start with our current budget of $77,438,000. And then we're adding in the increases. Most of these are based upon contractual increases. The biggest number on there being the teacher step and GWI that we just finished negotiating. That alone adds $1,063,000 to the budget. We're anticipating 6 retirements, which will be a cost avoidance of $90,000 next year. You'll notice in the highlighted area, these are the positions we were just talking about. The reason they're highlighted is they're grant funded, meaning we've made put the funds away in these other funding sources, the ARP IDA and IDA recovery fund, which are good for this year as well as next year. And then as well as the ARP ESSER. So those, well, they're an increase, they shouldn't increase our operating budget. So then all the areas, they're paraprofessionals, 2%. We haven't negotiated anything, but we put in a placeholder. Tutors, clerical staff, custodial. You'll notice the very last line under salaries is minimum wage impact of $253,000. That's what we're talking about on the last item. This is the full year impact for next year. So it's going to impact us by $253,000. And so that's why that's added in here. And then just to move on a little bit, employee benefits, an estimate on health insurance increase, Social Security and Medicare costs, as well as increased cost of transportation based upon our contract with SDA, and then some estimates on our out-of-district tuitions. And then a small amount of increase under expenses. And I have to say that the inflation rate as of last week was 4.6%. So this year plus 2%, we're really not, we're losing ground here, but hopefully we can make all that work. So the total increase is the second column, not the first column, the second column that we anticipate is somewhere in $2.3 million range based upon these assumptions, which is a 3% increase.
Are there any questions or comments, Susan?
No, I wanted you to kind of see a baseline going out of the gate. So we would have our bearing straight. We kind of did this last year when Mike was still with us. So we had a before the holiday view of, without any other changes, here's what, a 2% and contractual looks like going into the budget cycle. So I thought that was really important. And also considering that the cost of living is up to 4.65%. We just have to, be mindful, and certainly will be as efficient as possible when we go through this budget. But just know that this is, we've done 0% for several years. And, you can only do it so long without actually cutting into your program. So I just want you to be aware.
And I guess one thing to add is we don't have school consolidations to help us. We had school consolidation past 2 years, which helped us to, we move positions around, eliminate positions in some cases. So that's not an area we can go to. And then we've also taken quite a bit from the health insurance reserve.
Mhm.
We're at a point where we just can't keep doing that. We're at a level where if we cut it much more, we impact future. And so we don't have that as to go to as much as we've had in the past.
And we've been responsible in paying our debt with OPEB the past several years, besides coming in at 0. And, so we've been stretched pretty thin. So I'm just letting you know where we are coming out of the gate so that those discussions will be really fruitful as we go through, march through the budget.
Anybody else?
I have I know contractually we're bound to these, but the positions that are not contractual, we might want to think about being 1.5. Because there is just no way, 80, that's just such an enormous sum of money. I just can't, 3%, that's really very, very high. And I know we'll have to make cuts, and I don't want to make teaching staff cuts. I don't want to make a lot of cuts that are going to impact our children. So, in some way, we're going to have to find savings somewhere along the line here. We can't.
The percent, I'm sorry, the percent you referred to are the contractual percents. The other ones we've just discussed at trying to get the minimum wage up to par and then taking care of those paraprofessionals. So that's just based on what the game plan is for now.
Well, there are other ones in here besides paraprofessionals. There's administrative staff, there's central office staff. We're going to have to find savings, whether or not we cut positions or do something. It's just that's a tremendous increase. And there are a lot of people who are suffering right now. And I just hope that when we go through this, starting in January, it doesn't look like this. That's just my feeling.
Well, we'll do our due diligence. We always do.
I know you will. Yep.
So.
Anybody else? Okay, so then we're going to move on to the review of end user device proposal.
Clint, do you want to come up here?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Exit.
Is it
Are
loud?
you good? Are you?
Not afraid to be on camera. Do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
All right, thank you. So this is a quick update as promised from when we met 2 weeks ago. I gave you a general kind of overview draft proposal of what we're thinking about from staff devices that they're using day to day. A couple of board members asked for a deeper dive of version 2 with some more details. Dean, I think you mentioned it, and others. So I wanted to come back with some more details and a more accurate reflection of current staffing models and so forth. So that's what I tried to lay out here. Long story short, I've shared there. This is a 2-page document that everybody should have gotten in their packet on Friday. The second page is what I shared 2 weeks ago.
Was it this one?
Correct. The first page is new information. And what I shared was really kind of the device selection criteria that we've been working through as a team, as I work with the IT department, with building leaders, with teacher representatives and the like. And then I wanted to get to some more specifics as well as what this would cost. Currently, right now in Groton Public Schools, we do lease copiers and printers and so forth. I think it is high time that we do this with end user devices to get into a regular refresh cycle, to modernize and to align and really standardize the devices we're using across the board for better management, but more importantly, consistency across what we're doing in our classrooms, providing teaching and learning activities and the like. As I mentioned before, we have a wide variety of tools and devices being used by professional staff that range numerous years. And that has happened over time. I'm guessing I wasn't here, but it's very common in that you have a certain amount of dollars and you can upgrade a certain amount of equipment and then you move on. So it creates these issues of many different versions, many different pieces of hardware, many different pieces of software and the like. So this again is our attempt to cover both teachers, admin and CO staff, paraprofessionals and tutors appropriately so that we can lock into a regular payment on a yearly basis at as low cost as possible to provide that consistency and move forward. And again, I will mention it one more time from a security perspective, and as I kind of audit our systems and so forth, and as we work with our insurance providers and the like, I need a certain guarantee that what we're putting out there to secure personal data, PII, as well as student data and the like is there. That is a reality of what we're talking about, and things like two-factor authentication and so forth needs to be put into place so that we can continue to be covered. God forbid we have some type of ransomware issue or other large-scale security breach. I'm hoping we don't. We were working diligently to avoid that, but we're seeing it grow, and we want to be diligent and address that.
And there's been no final decision though on the type of, this is just an estimate on the type of devices.
Correct.
Right.
I have a question. Okay. Clint, I see here you have sample yearly payments for 4 years. How does that compare to what's happening currently? I mean, is there a savings here? Is this a?
So currently we do not lease devices. We buy them outright or have historically.
Yep.
No devices were purchased right now, or since I've taken over. We're using devices that have been purchased previously, be it Chromebooks, be it laptops for staff and so forth. So again, based on historical practice, it's typically purchased, not leased, and it's purchased when budget dollars are available to do that. And it has been inconsistent it hasn't been on a regular purchase schedule. That's why we have such a wide variety of different model types and ages on these, from a year old to 9 years old and so forth.
So I think my question, and I'm sorry if I didn't phrase it correctly, currently understand the situation. What, for maintaining what we have, is there a line item for that? Is there a budget line item, and how does that compare to what this is?
Sure, there is a small line item as far as hardware would go, replacing screens and keyboards and the like. A lot of this would then, be put onto the shoulders of tech staff that would need to be able to repair that and so forth. A lot of this equipment is out of warranty and well beyond life cycle, so I can't guarantee that I can fix all of them in all situations. So yeah, that's we will obviously do our best and keep whatever we can on the road as long as we possibly can. That's what schools do.
Right,
Absolutely.
but that's a key piece. If we're out of warranty and we, I know if you can't find pieces.
And it's more time in repairing hardware,
Like myself.
less time with our tech staff working with teachers and paraprofessionals and others to integrate technology, working on projects and so forth in the classroom. So there's a finite amount number of hours. So that would be, one for the other.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Dean?
Yeah, I was just thinking of this. I may have mentioned it last time as well. A device replacement fund. One of the things you're trying to solve here is the partial replacement of equipment. Gee, we'd like to replace, let's assume we started with equipment of all the same vintage. But over time, we don't feel like replacing, we can't replace, can't spend the money to replace everything. So we replace half. It's kind of like repaving some of your roads, but not
Sure.
all of them,
Yep.
right? So rather than incur these large jumps, we say, well, we've got a bunch of laptops out there, they're getting to be 6, 7 years old, and it's recommended that but who wants to spend all that money? Well, let's replace half of them and see if the other half will limp along, okay? So this attempts to solve that problem by basically leasing, so somebody else does the updating. You continue to pay a lease. Would having a device replacement fund that we would put money into every year, where we would have planned out the obsolescence, or maybe I shouldn't say obsolescence, you want to get rid of these things before they become totally obsolete. How would this compare to that? I know you wouldn't get the uniformity. But how would that look? How would
This
that
is
work?
my attempt to
Yeah.
do, I think, what you're talking about. Again, because we're breaking this, we're accepting all of the equipment up front and then paying, 25% of it over time based on a lease. I'm solving for we don't have that big leap of capital infusion once every X years. We're meeting that out over time, but I'm also solving then the inconsistency problem of having different types of equipment, different ages, different maintenance contracts and so forth on those. So if I understand your question correctly, in essence, I'm trying to do that by switching from purchasing to leasing to solve those two issues. And then there would be that lower cost every year that would be consistent in the budget that we could count on presented to this body each year.
Yeah, that's my question. That's why I should phrase it that way. Would this, where we're basically leasing somebody else's equipment, be cheaper than funding annually, which of course would be at our discretion, which we could be mischievous with. But let's assume that we're good and we annually fund a device replacement fund, so that as we need to, this will create different vintage machines, but as we need to, we have the money. We don't have the fiscal jumps. And you would have to live with the fact that we have different vintage equipment, but welcome to the real world kind of thing. Lots of places have that. I raise that only because I'm thinking, if you do this, are we guaranteed, as much as anything can be guaranteed in this life, are we guaranteed that we will, from this point forward, we'll solve the problem of the inconsistent vintages?
So I've hedged on this a little bit.
Yeah.
What I've done is, instead of a fair market value lease, which after 4 years, you don't own any equipment, you hand it back, you paid your money, you didn't really earn anything for it. These numbers represent, I think I noted it, kind of a $1 fair market value. So at the end of a $1 lease, as opposed to a fair market value, meaning at the end of 4 years, we have built up some goodwill in this equipment in that we can buy them outright for $1. So we could say, you could say, after 4 years, we have a financial downturn, or whatever the case may be, is you have some options. You can say, well, we don't have dollars to continue this type of plan, so let's purchase them outright for $1 a piece. And Clint, you and your team need to stretch and make it work. You do what you can to make it work. Or we could take the value inherent in those machines, turn them in, and then negotiate a new lease where we had that additional benefit that we have equipment that we now own, and we could get to the good by turning that back in and having new equipment. So we have options.
So it sounds like in the future, we could still have a situation where, this is money aside, still have a situation where we have equipment of all different vintages and presenting the problems that you now have with equipment of different vintages. So then the question becomes, what was cheaper? Paying every year into a device replacement fund, or leasing all this stuff?
I guess I don't know what, paying into that fund each year, are you saying build up a nest egg,
Yeah,
so to speak? and
Exactly.
then
We
go?
we put money away, we pretend it's not there, we try to be good so that when we do need to purchase equipment, according to a schedule that we lay out, we're gonna have these laptops for 5 years, whatever it is, so that we have the money there. We don't have to go actually budget it that year. So
Ken probably has an idea on this
Well,
one
I'm not
about
sure. I'm
a
not sure we
fiscal
can do
year.
that. I'm not sure.
No,
we're not allowed to.
I don't think we can
separate
hang
it
on
like
to
that.
funds.
No.
Carry it over.
You can't carry
That's
it
a
over.
whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
we do with the supplemental
Yes.
impact aid. We are able to do that for at least the student computers and other needs that we have in technology. So in a sense, the federal government gives us, let's say, $400,000 for this extra impact aid supplemental that comes right to the board. And then we have a plan to make sure we have that one-to-one Chromebook now even in elementary school. So looking at the number of Chromebooks, seeing
Sure.
what has to be refreshed, seeing what other needs are there. So that's a year-to-year kind of area where we can use those savings, so to speak.
So we can't, but the town can. But the town do it for us. We'll pay the town. We'll pay every year. We'll fund the fund, and when we need to, the money is there. The way that we have money for police cars and things.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but it sounds like.
It sounds like something we'd have to meet
Yeah.
with the town.
And the reason I'm doing this is I think I'm close to that. Obviously, it's a different approach. I
Yeah,
think we're close to that because we're keeping this yearly cost low. In essence, what I would ask you to put in that reserve fund anyway. But I can get the equipment up front and I can be using it today and consistently across the board. And that's selfish. I wanted this equipment so that I can do that across the board today with staff to fix this immediate problem in front of me.
right. But in 5 years, we could be back to where we are now.
Well, again,
Some
yeah,
equipment gets
in
replaced, but other
4
equipment
years,
doesn't.
we're gonna make a decision. Do we spend
Yeah.
roughly $500 or $600 and then we own all of them outright? And you could say, hey, Clint, I need you to make it last not 4 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Or we could then enter into a new 4-year agreement.
It's just hard, I confess, it's just hard for me to be able to gauge the financial effectiveness, if you will, of this.
Yeah.
Without some further research, it's like, do I buy a car or lease the car? The perennial
Yeah,
question.
and because the low to zero financing rate, to me, it's the money is even, but I get one platform and I get it now, which is the advantage to leasing, as opposed to different types of models over time. And I get a quarter now, a quarter next year, a quarter the year after, and a quarter the year after. Is why I'm doing it.
But you're still saying it's possible that we could wind up in the same situation anyway, where we have.
You have, yes, but you have
different
a decision.
models.
The
Right.
advantage is instead of being forced into it, we have a decision. The board has a decision at that point to say, well, we're not locked into it. We can jump out and go back to the old way, or we can continue this new model.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
Are there any other questions?
Yep, yeah, and I have a couple of questions for Clint.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Well, at one time, for upgrades to our computer devices, we did use DoD money. And we had a plan that, every year, we use this for technology. Do we still do that? I mean, we do it with the students, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, DoD money, my understanding is that has been used in the past for technology, and I would love to consider it for this current ask.
That would be great. And I have a question. The mobile device management license, $18 per MacBook Air. What is that for?
So what a mobile device management system, it basically allows you to push applications in and out of a device and manage it. This $18 is based on the system that Groton currently uses and has been using. It's a system called Jamf Pro. I have been looking at alternatives to get that down closer to $5 or $6 per person per year, as opposed to 18. There are pros and cons with that. But ultimately it's how do we manage the applications and the licenses on each of the machines? And in the case of a malfunction or a theft or where we have to reset the machine, a tool like that allows you to bring back your applications, your data and so forth, and you get back to good much more quickly than trying to do that piecemeal one-off and so forth.
Okay, and when in March 2020, I know you weren't here, but we did send out a lot of computers to our teaching staff and our paras also, so that people could work remotely. What type of computers were those, and are they still functioning?
It is a wide variety of them. Most of them are Windows-based PCs, but a good portion of those are also Chromebooks. And what this, now that we have the ability to the Google Suite is really being used across the board K-12 with students. So when a paraprofessional or a tutor is working with a student, they're having the same technology that they have. And we've recently now allowed that. So Chromebooks can actually use the printing facility. So as tutors are working with students and preparing lessons, be them in school or outside of school, they now have same technology plus the ability to print on those Chromebooks as well.
And
Chromebook
what
attractive device.
happened to the teachers' laptops that they presently have? I mean, some of them must be fairly new.
Yeah, they're, like I said, it's a variety. It's from 1 to 9 years old. So the plan would be, should we do this, we pull all of those back, we refurbish them, and we turn a good portion of those into Chromebooks, especially the older ones. Anything that's older than 4 years, that's well past its age, by putting Chrome OS, which is the operating system on a Chromebook, you can get more more time out of that hardware, as opposed to running an operating system like Windows or Mac OS or something that assumes better hardware.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so I would love to use those old devices, continue to use those as backfill for student devices and other needs across the district. So they will not go unused.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Jay next.
Yes, I hope I don't repeat too much. I did have to step out for a minute, but as I understand it, Clint, we've got devices out there up to 9 years old. No consistent plan for replacement. These teacher and admin laptops, correct me if I'm wrong, are the weakest link we have in terms of security and ransomware attacks and this sort of thing. So by initiating this now, ransomware attacks are probably not going to start within a student Chromebook. Am I correct?
It is an advantage to a Chromebook in that it is a more secure device, as we've seen demonstrated by data over time. None of these devices are 100%, but certainly a Chrome OS device is more secure from a traditional ransomware attack.
Okay. But the idea is, though, that these teachers and admins probably have more access to databases that are going to be subject to ransomware attacks. So by rolling this out and replacing all of that, and then using the devices that are still usable for students, then we can make sure that all these frontline devices have the most up-to-date security.
It's as you know, it's an ongoing battle, but this proposal puts us in a better secure posture moving forward to address some of those security concerns that school districts have around the country than if we hold the line what we currently have.
And by having this one sort of all new platform, you can push out the updates you need to push out, I assume, more easily than dealing with vintages of computers that could be 9 years old.
Yeah, currently the way we image and update computers is a variety of techniques because of the vintage of the computer and the operating system on it.
Okay. And since we have the DoD supplemental, I know Dean was talking about like setting up a sinking fund, which I believe the town has talked about for many, many years for vehicles, but I don't think they ever did it. They also were talking about doing it for their IT. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they ever actually endorsed it. So we already have that in a way through our DoD supplemental. And so we can just finance this right away. And you told us at Finance and Facilities that after 4 years, you could just do a dollar buyout.
Correct.
Okay, as I thought you mentioned something about a $400. Again, I stepped out for a minute, but so in 4 years, there's a huge budget crisis. We can't afford to buy the new computers or extend the lease. You buy them for $1 and you go another year or two.
Correct.
We're still in a better situation than we are with our 9-year-old machines.
Yeah. Again, the alternative could be a fair market value lease, which would lower the yearly premiums somewhat as a percentage, but then we wouldn't have that opportunity to have a buyout at the end of 4 years. It would be we would return the equipment and we would have we would have built up no value within it. So that is one option I'm proposing, that we use the dollar buyout, which then provides options for this body after 4 years to make a determination then.
And if I could just ask Ken, I hate to put you on the spot, Ken, but at this point, how much have you budgeted for use out of the DoD supplemental for the student needs for next year?
I don't think we have anything necessarily, because we got so many student devices during the pandemic time. I don't think we actually need any right now.
I am not going to be proposing any new student devices in the current budget coming up.
Okay. And as I recall, that account is very healthy right now. So if there were a time to do it, the time is probably right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Liz, did you have something? No.
No, I just, I know that, I think up there in the chat, there's some of the teachers here from Ed Rising.
Yeah, I wrote that back to Jay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I just,
Okay, are there teachers here?
No.
No, okay.
okay.
All right, so we're gonna move to transportation update. That would be you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, do you want to be in view here? We'll play tag.
I'm not shy about being on TV, Ken. So I have a transportation report tonight. As of this morning, it was good news that STA, they were up 100% in their staff, fully staffed. However, by the end of the day, that was no longer true. They actually had a driver quit today, but they do have a driver testing on the 23rd. So another week or so, and they should be back to full. But in the meantime, they're borrowing drivers again because they're still combining runs and quite a few runs. When we look at the list, and that is because they're still getting a lot of call outs, Monday morning call outs. And last week, you may have heard
Friday afternoon.
some of the
9.
problems were the afternoon. So they came to work in the morning, but then called out in the afternoon, something like 9 or 10 people. So, but they are borrowing drivers from the other towns and have been fully staffed the last couple of days, with the exception of those afternoon call outs. So there is a driver safety committee meeting on Wednesday that they are going to conduct. I will participate in that meeting. I believe there's also a parent that's going to be joining that meeting as well. You may have heard that there was a child that was on a bus for a long period of time just over a week ago, and that parent will be joining that meeting to discuss some of those concerns that they have. We are also scheduling a meeting with the STA management along with my staff, and we will be talking about making some updates regarding some of the problems that we've been having. The transportation department has problems every day of the week, and they're normal problems that we have. You know, a kid moves into town and you've got to get that kid on a bus. Somebody typed in the wrong number. We got to change it. So there's a lot of little things that happen every day in the transportation department. But when you add these other issues with combining buses and add in storms that happen on Fridays and things like that, kids getting off at the wrong stop or being left off without proper supervision at that stop. So all those things add up, and those are the types of things that we're trying to work out with STA. And I see it as probably a monthly meeting with STA management and my staff. The 6 of us at least getting together at least monthly. But we're going to start in the next week or so. I did see, I didn't have it written down here, but I did see an email later this afternoon, that they are going to have their driver appreciation meeting coming up very shortly. I don't know what the date is. I'll report that when I see that next time. And that's pretty much what I have on transportation. If I'll take questions, but if I could ask the chairperson's permission to give up one more comment on a facility item. I know,
You want to add it to the agenda, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I'm asking if I could, it's just one little piece of information I think will be helpful. to the
Where's the
board.
parliamentarian?
We don't have one.
Madam Chair, I think we can listen.
Oh, all right.
We probably wouldn't be able to deliberate on an additional
Yeah,
item.
it's not, it's just for information for you, because I know you don't like surprises later on. I got a call today from Rick Norris. This is a facilities thing. Got a call this afternoon from Rick Norris, and the people that are working on the solar projects for the new schools are going to have a PPA for us, proposal for us next week, purchase power agreement proposal. That will come to us next week. And so I'm hoping that we can invite Rick Norris to the next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting to update us on that, on the particulars of that. And then it would go to the board after that, because I'm sure that we're going to need your approval to put solar on our project.
And that would be for Mystic River Magnet and for the Groton Middle School.
Mhm.
Because we can't do it because Thames River is in the city.
Thames Rivers and the Groton Utilities, and they have a different program, so it's a little more difficult. It may take us a little more time to hopefully get something there.
Any? Okay.
It's
no.
always nice to have Rick.
Yes. So,
I'm curious about one thing, which is when the buses are done with Fitch and then they line up for the middle school, there seems to be where there's some variation, how long are the buses waiting at the middle school? Again, something that my daughter goes through. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's a lot longer than she expected. So are they ordered in any particular way? Because there's no room for all of the buses to be parked in front of the school so that the middle school comes out and the buses are all there. They're lined up beyond the school, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, and is there any
At
order
the
that
middle
they're,
school you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it
there
goes
any-
all the way up to the artificial field.
right, is there any order that they're lined up in, or that's just too much to choreograph?
No, they leave the bus garage. They try to leave the bus garage in order that, so they're in order when they get to the school in the same order each day. There have been a couple of cases where people, drivers didn't get to the lot in time. So they alert the school that that bus is not in that line, that they're at the end of the line. So anytime a bus is late, it goes all the way to the end of the line. So they get to the high school, they're lined up there. It's reported to the high school, the order of those buses, and then they go over to the middle school.
In that order?
In that order.
Okay.
They've been getting out of there in about 10 minutes recently, so in the afternoon.
So when they get to the middle school, they're all lined up, only so many of them can fit in front of the school or available at the
Yeah, it's about
entrance.
11 or 12 in front. Then there's about 11 and 12 that go from the flagpole up to the first corner, and then there's another 11 or whatever the last number is.
So you've got, assuming that they all came in the order that you want, you've got a number of buses in front of the school. Are just the kids that get on those buses called to go to those buses, or is there, where they gather to them, where do they muster, if you will, to then get on the buses?
They were calling them out by grade level, but I think they're almost dismissing all of them at the same, pretty close to the same time right now. So they're all going out there at about the same time.
So all the kids, regardless of whether the buses are in front of the school or not.
Yeah, they have an idea where the buses are before the kids go out there.
Okay. I'm just thinking where
They're
might be a tie-up.
they're very prompt about leaving Fitch and getting to the middle school. And I know Sam has worked with the admin at the middle school. We've looked at other possibilities. There's a real safety issue if you try to line the buses up side by side, and if the buses take off and a child should be in between. I mean, there's safety issues. So they're just trying to be as safe as possible. We've talked about getting them out by their bus. So, you know, we've looked at a lot of different other possibilities, but they feel this is the safest. Last I checked, they were exiting by 2:45.
Right. And so one of the most important things we'll be talking about in this next meeting with STA is coming up with a plan. We have a better idea now of the longer runs, the buses that take a longer time to get to the elementary schools, for instance. So we are going to talk to them about realigning the buses and having those buses that have the longer runs between the next run get in line first, so that those buses
Fill them up
Out of
at
there as
Fitch,
quickly as
fill them
possible.
up at Groton, get them out of there.
So is that happening? Because I no longer have kids in elementary, but is that happening where buses that should be at the elementary school by time X are not?
There's still a few that are late.
Which then pushes their runs later.
It's gotten a lot better, but there's still a few.
Except for Friday, mostly they're
Yeah.
getting there by 3:35 and getting home by 4:45.
I get it.
Okay, Liz,
Yeah, okay, Sam, just quick update, are they still staying on the buses in front of the middle school in the morning? Are the middle school kids not allowed to disembark for like 15 to 20 minutes?
That's correct.
So are we working on a plan to change that?
We have some ideas. I don't know if they've been accepted yet, but we have some
We're working
ideas.
on it.
We're
All
working. on it.
right, could you get back to us about that, please? Thank you.
are there any other questions?
Jay's got his hand.
Rita, is your
Yeah,
hand?
I have a question if Jade has one also. Is it because we have to renegotiate with our administrators and our teachers about the not letting the children off the buses, those 15 minutes? Why they have to sit there? What is the reason why they have to sit there?
You need staff, so the contracted time at the middle school starts at 20 of. And that's when actually the time that Fitch has to be starting their bell starts then. So, yeah, so we probably need to get the two closer aligned. So there's some conversation I need to have with both administrators and teachers.
Okay. I think we should be doing that now. I mean, there's no reason why children should be sitting on a bus. That just seems that.
We have been, Rita, and we're
I
collecting
mean,
data.
even if they're dismissed into the cafeteria to have breakfast or something,
Right.
you know, that where you could hire paraprofessionals besides teaching staff or administrators to monitor the students. They could be having breakfast.
You're right. Those are some of our thoughts too.
Thank you.
Jay, do you have your hand up?
No, my question's been answered.
Anyone else? I have a question about after school. Who's supervising when all of the middle school gets out? Who's supervising?
After the middle school is gone?
No, before, when you said all of the children are dismissed.
Oh, when they go
At
out
the
to the
same time,
buses,
yeah.
there are probably 7 teachers and administrators out there. There are quite a few administrators and teachers out there.
Remember, you have two sides of both the Fitch High School and Groton coming in and going out. So you have the parent pickup and drop off on one side of Fitch, and then you have the buses on the other. At the middle school, you have the top end buses and the other end is the parents. So it's pretty complicated. You need a lot of people on both ends.
As
You
long
have
as they're
Mr.
there, that's all I'm concerned
Mr.
about.
Katecki and Mr. Daniel at the upper level, along with teachers, and then you have Mr. Bass and Mr. Davis down below.
Okay, so there's a sufficient number.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, we're on the referral list. I'm gonna take a look at that. Is there anything on the referral list in terms of curriculum? Well, we talked about that. Right? At our curriculum meeting this afternoon. And what about policy?
Well, I think one of the things that was brought up tonight is looking at our policies around Facebook. So there's electronic information security. There's a host of those that we were kind of waiting for Clint to get here. So we do have to start.
I think we have
delving
some
into it.
time before we have to worry about a policy for Facebook.
Well,
I
these,
think first we have to create the wheel.
well, these are all kind of related. They're
Oh, yeah, yeah.
communication and technology. So they're
absolutely.
things that we probably should do together as a package deal.
But it's,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like it's gonna happen real quick.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Mhm.
Okay, in terms of COW, is there anything that should come off or should go on? Okay,
I think this is where we have the education rising, right? Is it on here? The one we were going to have this evening?
Well,
Yes, it's on here, but we'll have to, we had to table that, so I have to find out
what happened?
what happened.
When they do reschedule, if they could send us the presentation in advance, that would be helpful. Rather than hearing it as soon, if they could send us their presentation in advance and then talk about it with us rather than like show slides and so forth, that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. And suggested topics for the future.
Well, don't forget, you got finance. So we'll listen to that.
Oh,
We did that.
anything on finance and facilities?
Well, we did just talk about the building substitutes and looking at all that data. That was Rita's question.
Do we need to take that off?
I think that could probably come off. And then substitute teachers, parents, those are all really part of the same thing.
Can we wait to take them off until we vote on the races?
Okay, you can wait. Yep.
Good idea.
Any future topics that you want us to consider and put on the list? Well, in that case, somebody.
You want me to do it?
Yes, you have to do it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Now you have to say it.
Oh, no, it's you.
Huh? No, I just said motion to adjourn.
She moved, I
You
seconded
gotta
it.
say.
Good night. Say good night,
Good
Grace.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll just call you
Meeting is
then.
adjourned at